Right then, Fujifilm X T3. This is my follow-on video from my previous video, which was the X T2. Now, in between owning the X T2 and the X T3, I did own an XH1. However, that came out, I believe, early in 2018, and then in the latter half of 2018, out came the X T3. Now, the XH1 had IBIS and the same sensor as the X T2, whereas the X T3 had a new 26.1 megapixel backside illuminated sensor. Hope I said that right. And essentially had a lot of incremental improvements from the X T2 and the XH1, though obviously no IBIS. Had a smaller body than the XH1 and had a more tactile, the dials on top like the X T2, unlike the XH1, which was more like a conventional digital camera you could buy from Canon, Nikon, anybody else. So yes, the X T3, dual UHS-2 SD card slots, 4K video, sort of had video improvements, focus improvements, and I believe it had a new processor in it as well. And the one thing I've noticed looking at the X T3 photos that you're looking at now in this video, apart from the fact that I had I used the red badge professional, as they called it, lenses, so the 16 to 55 f2.8 80mm macro lens, which when you see a lot of these have actually taken with those particular two lenses, so especially the close-ups, that they're all from the macro lens, and you can just see how sharp they are. Now, that's one thing I forgot to mention with the X T2. Fujifilm don't have the low-pass filter, the anti-aliasing filter, on any of their sensors like Nikon and Sony. So what that means is, unlike Canon, who still have the low-pass filter on, I think pretty much all of their cameras, and it's still, that takes a tiny bit of sharpness away. But these days cameras can handle it without having a low pass filter, which this camera doesn't have. Now, one thing I have noticed a lot difference between the X T2 and the X T3 is the colours of the sensor. They seem to be more vivid with the X T3. You still get fantastic dynamic range like the old sensor, and you have to remember the sensor in the X T3 is the same one that's in the X Pro 3, the XS10, the XS20, the XT4 and the X100V. So all those cameras have the same sensor in them, and this sensor has been their standard sensor until 2023. I think it's 2023, when the XH2 and the XH2S came out, and of course the XT5 as well, which all has the same sensor. Now, that sensor, XH2S doesn't. The XH2S has a different sensor, another 26.1, but it's I can't remember what they call it, but it's a far faster readout, much like Sony's A9 II. It has a similar sensor to that. Obviously not the same size because it's a crop sensor. When did it come out? Here we go, yeah, 2022, sorry, not 2023. I thought it was 2023. Now, with the going back to the colours of the pictures, definitely you can get more vivid colours out of the X T3 sensor. And anybody who's coming from X T2 or even an X T4, if you decided you don't want IBIS, and you don't want 10-bit internal 4K, the X T3 is still a real good bargain if you don't want to pay all that premium money. So say you want to have that those lovely colours like in an X100V, but you don't want to be paying 1600 quid for one, you can get an X T3 in very good condition, used from mpb.com and plenty of other places, from between about 550 and 680 pounds. So about £100 more than £100 more of the range than an X-T2. So there is that. But you'll find it very familiar. It uses the same battery as the X-T2. Obviously you can put all the same lenses on, and vintage lenses again. I think the EVF is the same. I'm not sure about these technical things. The screen is the screen movement is the same as well. They might have changed the button layout slightly. I'll have to look at a picture to remember that one. But yes, I use this particular camera for shooting a lot of sort of nature photography, but also studio portraits as well, which I didn't get to do with the X-T2. And one thing you've got to remember, and this is true with all mirrorless cameras, you've got to find the option in the menu to turn off an EVF setting, because there's a setting in the EVF which basically shows you what it should look like with whatever settings you've put into your camera. You have to switch that off, so it's like live view in a normal DSLR, so it doesn't make any of the adjustments that you've done to the camera settings. Otherwise you'll start locking on, it'll be going, and it'll suddenly go really, really dark because you've only got the modelling light on, and then you press the shutter and it's like, oh, did I get it, and you're constantly checking the back screen. So there is that. So yes, apart from that little quirk, which is true for all mirrorless cameras, there's not much more I can really say about the X-T3. It's a really nice camera to use. Like I said, that bump in the resolution, 2 extra megapixels, it's not that noticeable, to be quite honest. It's only really noticeable if you want to pixel peep, and these days this is the other thing about using APS-C as opposed to full frame. A lot of people go, no, but you know, when you look up close, you won't be able to see so much detail. I'm telling you, there's loads of detail in these photos. 26 megapixels is more than enough. I've had one of my upcoming videos will be about the X-T4, which I shot an entire master's degree project with. Now that I had on a huge screen, the images from that, and there was no loss of resolution or anything else like that, because you have to remember 4K, which is the highest resolution most monitors, phones, TVs go to, is just over 8 megapixels, and this is 3 times that. So, thing to remember there. Oh, and if you heard a funny sound, it was the cat yawning. So yeah, now you're looking at, I think, one of the best sensors out there. I mean, the previous sensor in the X-T2 and the X Pro 2, yeah, on a par almost. I mean, the X-T3 one, like I said, it's just a little bit, it's like the images are a bit crispier almost. I've heard that term used before and I haven't really noticed it till now. You don't get that lovely, I guess you don't get that lovely fall away softness that you get with the old sensor in the X-T2. Not entirely sure why. Maybe it's some change in the design or something, but yeah, that nice little fall away just isn't quite there in the X-T3. That's the only thing I've really, apart from, like I said, the sort of more vivid colours, that's the only difference I can really see between the two sensors, is the X-T3 seems to be just a little bit, the images seem to be just that little bit crispier, a little bit sharper, but that might just be because of the tiny bump in resolution. You also have the other thing you have to remember is the previous X-T2, the base ISO on that was 200. On the X-T3 it's 160, so tiny little drop. So when you're shooting at the base ISO, I suppose, yeah, I don't really think it's noticeable. And again, you can push the ISO on this sensor a lot higher than I expected. Going through these pictures, I didn't realise the photos of the church and churchyard If you haven't got to them yet, I don't know, because it's set on random, so you might have already seen them. But those two black and white photos of the churchyard and the church, they were shot at 1250 ISO, and I can't see any noise in them at all, which is just amazing. I mean, come on. But then, yeah, this is only 6-year-old tech that's still being used now in the XS20. It's the same sensor in the new XS20. They got new processors in that camera. Now, I do have some shots from an XS10, but I don't know if I'm going to share them on here or not, because again, I only had that camera for a short time, and that uses the same battery as the X-T3. It's not till we get to the X-T4 that we have the better battery, but I think the X-T20 still uses the old one as well. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed the pictures. If you've got any questions about this, please do put them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. And if there's a particular video that you think I might be able to make as well, because like I said, I've still got one for the X-T4. I did one for the X-T5, but I just did a slideshow with music and almost like a vlog, blog. Get there in the end. Blog post underneath it. So I was going to redo that one as well. Talk about that particular camera and the lens I used on it, which I wasn't impressed with, I have to say. And then I think I've got. Well, have I got any other one to talk about? Oh, come on. And then obviously it'll be me going out and shooting more stuff again. Hopefully the weather will have improved. Fingers crossed. But yes, if you got anything you want to ask me, please do pop it in the comments. I do reply to most comments, I have to say. Some of them I don't, when I think I don't need to reply. Oh, that's it. EOSR, that's the other one. I've got an EOSR one to put up as well. I knew there was another one to put up. But yes, do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.